So what does this all amount to? What was all the hemming and hawing all about in the first place? And what will a Duterte candidacy mean to the four other candidates? Political analyst Malu Tikia joins us here in the studio. Malu, of course, is also host of Agenda, which is airs here in CNN Philippines. Hi, Malu.
Hi, Pia. Good evening.
Good evening. And let's begin with this first, a disclosure. You're not working for any candidate.
No, not yet.
You're not servicing any candidate at the moment. Okay. Malu, let's talk about this. What was this? Waffling on Duterte's part? Was it hemming and hawing? Or is this strategy?
I think it's part of strategy. Every part, every bit that is being played by Mayor Duterte is part of strategy. People outside the decision-making process may probably see this as Duterte serie. It's prolonging what should have been done as early as the time of filing. But I think it's also one way of introducing him, measuring his strength, and at the same time building an organization for his eventual campaign. Part of that is the money aspect of raising enough funds to put together for a presidential run.
Okay, so this is like the campaign.
I think he is
no matter
doing
how
his
informal,
campaign.
yeah, no matter how informal in a way.
Yes, I
testing
think
the
that is
waters,
right. Yes.
seeing how people react to him, because the reaction. I remember the early part. It's like, sige na, tumakbo ka na, no?
Yes.
Run, Duterte, run. No? Now it's a little bit. What are you doing? No?
Yes,
when is this
yes.
all going to end?
Yes.
But you also say this also has to do with funding. So there are those reports. He's saying he's waiting for December because he needs to know if the money is going to come in or not.
Right, right. The pledges, I guess, what I've heard are certain individuals have already made pledges, but the actual hard cash has not been given. So I think in every step that he is making himself more known to the public in terms of certain issues where he makes comments on, and whenever he shows unexpectedly in a public mall, those are strategic dipstick that you can do in determining his strength. And internal polls of certain candidates have shown that if you introduce Duterte into the race, there
They're
are
in
changes.
trouble.
Yes.
Changes or we'll
in
get
trouble
to that.
and there are changes.
Changes and kawawa naman yung iba. Okay. Pero itong, okay, testing the waters. So the reaction is, what reactions
The
did the
reaction
Duterte campaign
based
get?
on
Yes, good, positive.
The reaction
Go ahead,
based on
Ron.
last night was mixed. If you check the social media, there were people saying, "Oh, ano yan, palabas na naman," and there are others, just applauding the decision. But I think that will have to be measured in whether he can actually run because of the COC problem. Now, PDP Laban has a candidate. PDP Laban, as earlier pointed out by Senator Pimentel, has to put together an organization. I mean, this is not done overnight. And if you start putting an organization, invariably you will be eating up on certain organizations that are already in place. Mind you, Pia, Mayor Duterte is the lone Mindanaoan if ever he decides to run. So that's a big narrative in the campaign psyche. There has been no Mindanaoan ever to plan to run for president. Some were like Senator Gingona, who was picked and became vice president, but he never chose to run for president. So this one, I think Mindanao will be consolidated. Mindanao will help him. And you should also understand that part of Duterte is really Cebu. He is related to the Doranos. His father, his grandfather had their political life in Cebu. And that would change because Durano is campaign manager of the Senate slate of Po Escudero. So how these things will shape up really makes 2016 very hard to read.
Very hard to read.
Very
More
hard to
interesting. A while ago, Malu, you said internal surveys of the other candidates show that there will have to be real big changes in their campaign, or that they are in trouble. When we say the other candidates, we're talking about all the other four presidential candidates. So from Mar, Grace, Jojo Binay, and Miriam.
Yes.
They're all in trouble if Duterte runs.
In trouble in the sense that without the Duterte card, you'd see
They're safe in a way.
There's stability in the reading.
Okay.
But once you introduce the Duterte card, he becomes number one, and the rest loses. I mean, in terms of support. So who will gain support? Who will lose support? Those are two things that need to be taken into consideration.
Can you
as we
answer that
plan.
question? Who will gain support? Who will lose support?
Apparently he's eating on Secretary Rojas. He's eating on, when he was introduced, Senator Po became number 2. And then...
Wait, why is he eating into Secretary Ross's pie? Why?
That I still have to understand, because I know that Secretary Rojas is not so strong in Mindanao. Mindanao consolidates to Duterte. So even the remnants of PJ in Mindanao kind of lose traction once you introduce Duterte.
And why does he eat into Grace Poe's popularity or possible votes?
Well, because of the way this thing is being unraveled and this thing is being done publicly. He is not sure, but he is titillating the public into the possibilities. The other thing that is kind of real to those who are watching is NCR is going for Duterte. If you include him in the name, NCR carries Duterte. So if you are from Mindanao and you have Cebu and Visayas and you have Cayetano who is Taguig, Cebu and Bulacan, essentially you break certain holds of and bailiwicks of certain candidates. So that is going back to the drawing boards for everyone.
It's back to the drawing boards for everybody. So you said earlier there'll be changes or some candidates in trouble, and it's going to upset a lot of things now. So what can you paint a picture for us for each campaign? What is the conversation going to be like, when they come together and do a post-mort, if you will, of this latest decision of Duterte?
Well, they will have to check their Mindanao base. If their organization in Mindanao still holds, then that's not a big problem. Secondly, they would have to check the Visayas, in particular for Secretary Rojas, the Western Visayas. That will have to be checked whether if Duterte runs, it's still with them. To a certain degree...
Which means even before they presumed, they know, they think that Visayas is theirs.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Then part of the testing that will have to be done is the messaging. Apparently, Mayor Duterte comes in as someone who's known for strong leadership. Peace and order is something that is within his alley. He is not known much about economic issues or diplomacy or foreign international relations. But he sends a signal that he is not really for political establishment issues. He talks about federalism, which is changing really the nature of the unitary form of government. He talks about Congress being a party for the first 100 days, and if after 100 days he doesn't get his agenda, he plans to lock, close Congress. So this is an anti-establishment theme that he has been bringing around the country in the guise of talking about federalism. So you would see that he is being molded as a leader who would do hard decisions early on, and where political will apparently is being attached to the name of Duterte.
Anti-establishment theme that is in direct contrast to the continuity.
Continuity. It's very hard to win on a continuity platform. If you try to...
but they say Daang Matuwid, a continuation of Daang Matuwid is the best for the country.
That is according to them. Then they would have to tell the public what is good in Daang Matuwid. I mean, you cannot, the public, again, we've seen surveys saying that, yes, it's good to a certain degree, but the problem is inclusive growth. So people should focus on what is good, let's continue with that, and what is bad, what would be the replacement. The narrative has to change. It cannot be just tuwid na daan.
All right. We have 50 seconds to go, Malu. Now that there is that big possibility looming again over the heads of all the campaigns. How are they going to, what are they going to do? Because I think their next move is, let's not let him run.
Well, there's a group that would throw, the monkey wrench there and say, you are not allowed. That deadline is already over. What Duterte is doing is racing against the printing of the final official ballot. If his name is not there, then
He's not on the ballot. Yeah.
That's a problem. But I think he would have a stronger voice if he doesn't ultimately run, because he can control and frame the debate. He can control it for Mindanao, what the needs of Mindanao would be. He can control it in terms of federalism. He can control it in terms of peace and order. I mean, the drug issues have not been discussed, both in terms of supply and demand. It has not been a core campaign issue. But that is real. And Mayor Duterte has proven to a lot of people in Davao that, fighting drugs is the way to go to control, peace and order problems.
All right. Thank you very much, Malu
Thank you,
Tikia,
Pia.
political analyst. Let's see what happens next.